I teach guys what I call the 3 A's of great fathering: affirmation, acceptance, and affection. Affirmation, acceptance, and affection. And very, very briefly, affirmation is really just speaking words of very specific praise to our kids, whether we write them, speak them in person, text, email, Skype or FaceTime, however it is that we're able to connect with our kids, whatever our circumstance is. It's just catching our kids doing something right. And more so, it's very often easier for dads to say something positive about our kids' performance, performance in school, or it may be a recital or on the sports field, or some kind of achievement, like an academic achievement or an award they've won. Those things are pretty easy to praise, but it needs to go deeper than that. Those things are great, and I encourage them, of course. But when we can praise our kids for something we see in their character, or something about the way they've made a decision, or the way they've treated a friend in a positive, generous, or loving way, those kind of affirmations go so deep, and they create such a beautiful and special bond between father and daughter, or father and son. And so there's one of the things that I taught the guys in prison is, particularly if they didn't have much of a relationship with their kids, that they can begin writing letters and affirming their kids in their letters, pointing out things about their children that even if they have to find them out from their children's mother or grandmother or grandfather, but finding things, specific things that they can speak words of praise to. That's affirmation. And then acceptance is this unconditional and unending embrace of our children no matter what. And I teach dads that there's a huge difference between what you might call approval and what I teach as acceptance. Because I think a lot of us dads get stuck when we disapprove of something our kids have done or said or not done or not said when they were supposed to. It's very easy to communicate rejection of the child, even if that's not what we're wanting to do. But when we tell our kids we're disappointed in them, or we tell them, gosh, how come you couldn't get a better grade on that test? Or, whatever the criticism is, if we're not super careful to differentiate between disapproving of some behavior or choice or action and acceptance of the child, our kids aren't going to be able to do that, because our kids, until they're teenagers, they're very much concrete thinkers. And this distinction, this abstract distinction between approval and acceptance is something that our kids' brains don't even really process yet. So we have to make it hugely abundantly clear. And I can illustrate that later, perhaps. So I teach dads to do that, to demonstrate acceptance, to write in their letters if guys are in prison, to reach out to their kids and say to them, I've made so many mistakes in my life, as my incarceration can tell you. But I want you to know that no matter what mistake you ever make, it'll never change my love for you as your dad. I'll accept you always, no matter what. And then the last, of course, is affection, whether it's spoken words of affection, the I love yous, I just love being your dad, or I can't believe it, how lucky I am to have a kid as wonderful as you, or the actual physical expressions of affection, touching, holding, rubbing shoulders, holding hands when you walk, snuggling your child onto your lap when you read them a book. So the 3 A's, the affirmation, acceptance, and affection, are what I teach dads everywhere. But dads in prison can do that in their letters. They can express all of those things, which build beautiful relationships, fantastic relationships with their kids. And I've seen that hundreds of times.